Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. And as always, I'm here to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We have a six-game main slate tonight, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on both sites. I'm going to take you quickly through game by game, talk you through my favorite plays, as well as the injury news we need to look out for. I will slowly build lineups in both DraftKings and FanDuel as I walk through this video here. The model you see here is our Occupy Fantasy model. Please like the video. Also subscribe to the channel. It helps us get more free content like this out to you. If you're not already a member of Occupy Fantasy and you'd like access to this model here, please check the links in the description below. We also have a single lineup builder, a multi-lineup builder, a private Discord server full of DFS pros to help you improve your game, and that includes a 30-minute window leading up to each slate's lock where you can discuss your own lineup questions and slate-specific questions as well. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the slate here. Like I said, 6 games should be pretty easy to kind of cut through. Just go game by game. I'll go team by team and let you guys know which plays I'm targeting on each site. There is a 5 o'clock Eastern game. The Celtics are in Toronto facing the Raptors. That game is not on the slate, so we do not need to discuss that here today. So let's get into it here. First game on the board tonight at 7 o'clock, we have the Magic at the Wizards. The Magic are 7-point underdogs on the road in Washington, D.C. 230-point game total here, so a decent game environment. So Orlando's on a back-to-back, which means we don't have their injury report yet. When this team's healthy, they're becoming kind of tough to target because they do have a lot of mouths to feed here. I mean, Wendell Carter Jr. looks fine on both sides. We're seeing him get over 10% ownership. Franz Wagner had a massive game yesterday. He's still under 6K on both sides. I don't mind him in a thin, small forward position, but it's tough to really call him a priority. Markel Fultz, price doesn't seem to move over on DK at 6,100. He's certainly in play. The most talented player on this team, though, Paulo Banchero, is who I'm most interested in. But at the same time, I am not prioritizing him unless I'm playing multiple lineups in large field tournaments. So Orlando looks fine here. Also, I already mentioned Wendell Carter Jr. He looks solid. It's just tough to know on a given night which one of these guys is going to go off. All that being said, this is a back-to-back. If we do see some players ruled out, it could create opportunity to target this team more aggressively. But as things stand, there's really nothing on Orlando I'm really chasing. Moving on to the Washington side of the ball, we have Jordan Goodwin out, and Johnny Davis is on a G League assignment. No Vernon Carey. Pretty much what I'm getting at is this team is as healthy as they've been in a couple weeks. Brad Beal is back. Kyle Kuzma's in. Kristaps Porzingis is in. Another one of these teams, when they're healthy, it's really tough to know who to target on a given night. I like Porzingis. I like that he's just 9K flat on DK, 8,900 on FanDuel. He certainly has upside there. Still not someone I'm prioritizing. Kyle Kuzma, similar story. He's a little bit expensive for Beal being back in the lineup, so really not rushing to get to him there. I will take a quick look into Bradley Beal and see what he's done since his return from injury. I think he's only been back one game. His price is down, though. Played 28 minutes last time out, averaged about a fantasy point per minute. If we see him get over 30 minutes here, that 7,400 on DraftKings is going to look solid. So I like Beal on DraftKings. He's okay over on FanDuel, but really it's tough to prioritize anything from this game. I will say Daniel Gafford's been better than expected this season, but with this team healthy, he just hasn't been producing at a very high level. So, decent game here, but it's the only game locking at 7, so there is merit to just completely fading it if we are waiting on injury news in the other spots, and it does seem like that could be the case here today. So moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Atlanta Hawks hosting the Charlotte Hornets. The Hawks are 7.5-point favorites at home. Hawks are another team on a back-to-back, so it's really tough to know who we're going to be able to target here. As things stand, if we assume they're healthy, I think Trey and DeJounte Murray are both fine as guard plays. Not sure I'd prioritize them necessarily, but this is an excellent matchup. I really do like the price on Trey on both sites, 9,300 on DK, 9,600 on FanDuel. Murray, you're getting a bit of a discount, obviously a bit lower of a ceiling, but at the same time, he does seem to be lower owned over on DraftKings. So both of those guards look good, but again, this is a team who has yet to release their injury report. If we see Trey ruled out, Murray becomes a top priority. If we see Murray ruled out, Trey becomes a top priority. Pretty self-explanatory there. Clint Capella's been back. It is a back-to-back though, so they could be cautious with him here. If they do rest Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu would become one of the better value centers on the board tonight. So keep an eye on that news. Again, Atlanta on a back-to-back, no injury report yet. But as things stand, it does look like they're healthy and they should be ready to go. But again, on a back-to-back, a lot of teams have been resting their star players. When that is the case, we often get some of the best plays for DFS on the slate. So that is a piece of news we certainly need to keep an eye on. On the Charlotte Hornets side of the ball, LaMelo Ball, poor kid. I mean, he re-injured his ankle last time out. So he's going to be out tonight. He's listed as doubtful. Gordon Hayward is back, listed as probable. Still no Kelly Oubre. Cody Martin doubtful. Theo Maledon is out. So Terry Rozier benefits the most with LaMelo out of the lineup. No surprise there. He looks solid on both sites. 7,600 on DK, 8,100 over on FanDuel. Certainly see getting to him on both sites. Prefer him on DK. I haven't really added any players from these first couple games, so I'm going to go ahead and add Terry Rozier over on DraftKings as a priority play. Mason Plumlee looks fine on both sites. Not a great matchup against Capella and Okongwu, but he has been producing at a pretty high level. Certainly more appealing on DK where he's still sub 7K. Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be an interesting piece of value. Only 4K on DK, 5,700 on FanDuel. Not only is LaMelo Ball out, but Theo Maledon's out. So Dennis Smith should see mid to high in the 20-minute range. So I do like Dennis Smith Jr. here as a value piece. He's drawing ownership on both sides, certainly more appealing on DraftKings where he's only 4K flat. But at the same time, we're getting a cheaper Rozier over there as well. And I don't know that you're going to want two Charlotte guards in your lineups, but on a 6-game slate, there is some merit to building that way. Don't mind Gordon Hayward here. Going to take a quick look at him over on FanDuel. He is cheaper than we've seen him lately. Obviously, recovering from an injury, he's going to be limited in all likelihood. If we get word that he has no minutes limit here, he would see increased usage with LaMelo out and Oubre still out as well, so he'd become exceptionally appealing. At the same time, it is a hamstring injury. They do tend to be cautious with that type of thing, so I don't know. Proceed with caution for sure, but definitely keep an eye on the news. Maybe we get some coach speak or something from a beat reporter that indicates Hayward won't be limited here. But yeah, as things stand, I like Rozier, I like Smith Jr. Those are probably your two best plays from Charlotte. If we get word that Hayward won't be limited, he's going to be appealing. If he is limited, then we could go back to guys like Jalen McDaniels and PJ Washington. But really, it is the backcourt I'm interested in as LaMelo Ball is out of the lineup for the Hornets. Just given the lack of quality plays we've seen so far, I'm going to go ahead and add Rozier to my FanDuel dummy build here as well. So moving into the next game on the slate, let's see. Going by the order of the injury report, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks are on the road in Cleveland. The Cavs are 1.5-point favorites at home. Just a 221.5-point game total here. So this has been the theme of this slate so far. Another team on a back-to-back. No injury report yet. Donovan Mitchell was out for the Cavs last night. If he's out again here, that's a major boost to Darius Garland and Karis LeVert. So keep an eye on that. Also boost the usage of guys like Mobley and Allen in the front court. Not as much. But that Mitchell piece of news is going to be imperative in building your lineups this evening. I do think Mitchell plays. I think they rested him last night knowing it was a back-to-back and they had Milwaukee tonight. If he's in, 8,900 on DK is certainly appealing. Don't mind him at 9,100 on FanDuel either. Is a tough matchup with Milwaukee, though. They're all kind of priced where they should be. So if Mitchell's in, no major priorities for me from Cleveland. If he's out, Garland and LeVert become priority plays. So keep an eye on that spot for sure. Over on the Milwaukee side of the ball, we have Giannis listed as questionable. Serge Ibaka is on the trade block. He is out, and Chris Middleton is out as well. If Giannis is in, he's excellent. No surprises there. The Bucks were rested last night. He is listed as having an illness and knee soreness. So I don't know how serious this injury is, if he's even hurt or they're just doing this so they can rest him when they want to. If Giannis is in, obviously one of the best pay up options on the slate. If Giannis is out, we're going to be prioritizing Drew Holiday everywhere, even as he gets closer to 9K. With Giannis in, he's overpriced. But as things stand, if Giannis is out, Drew would look excellent on both sites. Other priorities here, if Giannis is out, would be Bobby Portis. Brooke Lopez, Grayson Allen, kind of in that order. We've seen Joe Ingles have some big games when he starts. Very risky coming off the bench, though, so keep an eye on that spot. Even Jordan Nwora becomes relevant if Giannis is out as kind of a cheap, large field tournament play. But that Giannis piece of news is very important, and personally, I do think he plays here, in which case he's going to be the priority for the Bucks, and then everything else is kind of secondary. Wouldn't mind getting to some Allen, Lopez, Portis, maybe Holiday, but none of them are even close to priorities with Giannis in the lineup. So keep an eye on that one there as well. Moving into the next game on the slate, let's see here. We have the Rockets at the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are 8.5 point favorites at home. For Houston, Kevin Porter Jr. is doubtful, as is Jabari Smith. So this is going to be one of the better spots to target for sure. We've seen Sengun have some massive games with Porter out of the lineup. He's doing more ball handling. I love him on both sites. The price is up. He's now 8,100 on DK, 7,800 on FanDuel. He has the talent to justify that price tag, but at the same time, it is a little bit risky given some of the quality options we have at center on the rest of the slate. I do like Jalen Green a lot here, though, on both sites, especially FanDuel, where he's sub 8K. I think 7,700 is just a bit too cheap for him with Kevin Porter out of the lineup. So, again, Porter's listed as doubtful. I don't think he plays, but just confirm that before you go loading up on Jalen Green. KJ Martin has been relevant whenever Porter's out of the lineup as well. We're getting him at just 4,800 over on DraftKings. I do think that's a solid option. I'd probably start there with Houston on DK. Like I said, I do really like Sengun. I'm not forcing him in. I like Embiid, spoiler alert, trying to get to him as much as possible at center tonight. But if not, Sengun's certainly a good option in that mid range. Guys like Eric Gordon are fine. Very scoring dependent, though. His price is up. Don't mind getting to him. I do trust Martin a bit more. And Jalen Green, I think, is the safest play here from Houston. It is a decent matchup. Minnesota, they're decent. Obviously, they have some talent, but they just haven't been playing great basketball. Um, so yeah, with Kevin Porter out and Jabari Smith out, I do think Sengun and Green become very appealing everywhere. On the Minnesota side of the ball, we have Rudy Gobert questionable, Anthony Edwards is questionable as well, Austin Rivers is questionable, still no Carl Anthony Towns. So if Gobert's in, I really don't like him. He's playing hurt, hasn't been very effective. I mean, at 7K flat, there's merit to playing him in tournaments. He certainly has a ceiling, but not someone I'd be rushing to get to. If Gobert is out, however, Naz Reid becomes a priority everywhere, especially on DK at just 5,100. I really don't have a lean whether Gobert's going to play or not here. I don't know. He's been out. Houston isn't the toughest matchup. They are pretty heavy favorites, so maybe they bench Gobert, in which case, again, you're going to want to get to a lot of Naz Reid. Kyle Anderson, kind of a tale of two sides here. 7,200 on FanDuel is really tough to stomach, but 5,900 over on DK. Even if this team is healthy, I do have interest in Kyle Anderson. He's been playing more minutes. He's been shooting the ball more often and more effectively. So he's someone I'm going to be looking at for Minnesota, regardless of who's in. If Anthony Edwards is in, I like him on both sites. 87 on 100 on FanDuel is way too cheap. I'm going to pencil him in right now as well. But if Edwards is out, then we have to look at D'Angelo Russell. He would absorb a lot of that usage. And you could maybe get to someone like Jalen Noel. Torian Prince has been really effective whenever he starts, so keep an eye on the starting lineup here. Just another situation where we're waiting on injury news, and it's really tough to make any definitive calls until we have it. But again, if Gobert's out and Edwards is out, Kyle Anderson, D'Angelo Russell, Jaden McDaniels would all look solid. Torian Prince, if he starts, would be excellent value. And if Gobert's out, Naz Reid is one of the best plays on the slate. He's been getting into foul trouble and still almost hitting value. If he could just have a game where he stays out of foul trouble, he has a 40 to 50 fantasy point ceiling. So at his price on both sites, he would be one of the best plays on the slate. Moving into the 9 o'clock window here, we have the Indiana Pacers at the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are 5 point favorites at home, 229-point game total here. So I'll start with Indiana. They're on a back-to-back, as are many teams on this slate. So it's really tough to know who we are rushing to get to. At the same time, Tyrese Halliburton is banged up. We know he will be out. So you could go back to TJ McConnell on DK. He's not playing a ton of minutes, but his fantasy point per minute rate is like well over 1.2 fantasy points. So I do like him here, even as his price continues to elevate. Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nemhard, find his secondary options. Neither are guys you can trust consistently consistently. And then Buddy Hield, excuse me, as kind of the mid-range forward. I do have some interest in him here. Miles Turner's fine at center. There are better center plays on the slate, but really we got to wait and see. I mean, if a couple of these guys are ruled out, this team becomes much more appealing, as is the case with many of the teams on this slate. No injury report yet. I think everyone plays other than Halliburton. So just keep an eye on that starting lineup, see who's in there. As long as they are healthy and ready to go, I think you could play any of the starters. But at the same time, I wouldn't call any of them priorities. I do like McConnell on DK in tournaments. Buddy Hield would probably be my favorite play on either site, though. Again, no Halliburton. There's extra usage to go around. Miles Turner looks fine. Not a priority, though. Center is one of the more loaded positions on the slate. Over on the Sun side of the ball, Chris Paul is now questionable. He's been out for several weeks. Still no Devin Booker. If Chris Paul's in, I would hope to see we get news whether he'll be limited or not. If he's in, he's going to be interesting. I don't know that we can trust him if we get word he's on a minutes limit. Just checking his price over on FanDuel. He's not in the model currently, but at 7,800, if we get word he is not going to be limited with Devin Booker out of the lineup, he's going to become appealing. Saban Lee still on that 10-game contract. He had a great game last time out. If um, Paul is out again, I could see going back to Lee, even coming off the bench. Damian Lee as well, bit more expensive, more likely to start. Not quite as good of a fantasy producer, but he would become appealing if we have both Paul and Booker out again. Mikal Bridges, solid on DK, okay on FanDuel. Wouldn't want to pay that tag unless Chris Paul's out. DeAndre Ayton looks good on both sites where he's sub 8K. Torrey Craig is fine as kind of a last man in, not someone I'm prioritizing. And then Dario Saric, if he starts, when we get a couple guys ruled out for Phoenix, he's appealing his value. He had a really rough game last time out, but I think he had 3 fouls in the first half, and that was a big reason for that. So keep an eye on that lineup for Phoenix. Again, Chris Paul is the big piece of news we're waiting on there. Just one more game. We have probably my favorite game on the slate. It is the late night hammer, the Philadelphia 76ers at the Sacramento Kings. First and foremost, the Kings are on a back-to-back. I'll start on that side of the ball. Sabonis, good game last night. De'Aaron Fox looks solid. If Sabonis, I mean, he's been a little bit banged up. They've been resting him on occasion. I think he plays here on the back-to-back. If he's in, I think he's solid. Not someone I'm forcing. Tough matchup against Philly, but he would be appealing here. Same with De'Aaron Fox. He's a little bit cheaper than the other kind of top-tier guards, so I could see getting to him. Harrison Barnes is a last minute on the wing, regardless of who's in or out here. But if Sabonis is out, keep an eye on the starting lineup. Maybe we see Rashawn Holmes or Trey Lyles slide in which case they become appealing value. But assuming Sacramento is healthy and has all their starters, there's just really no major priorities here. I wouldn't mind Keegan Murray on either side. He's been effective lately. Still just 4,300 on DK. His price never seems to move. But yeah, that's really it. I don't mind Barnes, like I said, as a last man in. Kevin Herter's fine, obviously very scoring dependent, but he does have a high ceiling, which is appealing on a 6-game slate like this one. On the Philadelphia side of the ball, we're seeing James Harden listed as questionable with a tendon strain and right foot injury management. So if Harden's in, he's okay here. I do like the matchup, obviously, against Sacramento. Philly's going to be paced up. As good as Sacramento's been, they do allow a lot of fantasy points to opposing teams. If Harden's out, Joel Embiid is a borderline lock. I already love him here, even if Harden's in the lineup. But again, if Harden is out, Embiid would be kind of who I'm clicking on first on both sites. I'm going to go ahead and just add him to my shells here. Like I said, even if Harden's in, I like him. But if Harden's out, I think you almost need him here. So definitely keep an eye on that. If Harden's out, I also like Tyrese Maxey here. He's been fine. Still kind of borderline GPP viable, even with Harden in the lineup. If Harden is out, we could see DeAnthony Melton get the start or Shake Milton. If either of those guys do slide into the starting lineup with Harden out of the lineup, they would be very appealing as value. Tobias Harris is fine in that mid range, not something I'm prioritizing. Again, Embiid's my favorite play here. He becomes a borderline lock if James Harden is ruled out. So, gonna need to find some value on FanDuel. We got 5K left per person over on ZK. So I'll just take a quick look at the model, see what's popping. We still have Chris Paul out. So Torrey Craig, McCall Bridges, DeAndre Ayton are popping towards the top. That could change. Dennis Smith Jr., obviously with LaMelo Ball out and Theo Maledon out. He's fine as value, but really, there's no great value on FanDuel as things stand. So we're gonna have to wait on that news and see what opens up. Over on DK, I do really like the price on Dennis Smith Jr. at 4K flat. Again, all those Phoenix guys are popping, but we have to keep an eye on Chris Paul. I do like Kyle Anderson, but I already penciled him on DraftKings, so a lot to like there. Quickly sorting by the OF index, which is mostly a weight of upside along with price and ownership, but heavy emphasis on upside. Embiid, top play on the board, no surprises there. Giannis, who's listed as questionable, looks great. Cleveland is a tough matchup, but he's shown he can put up against anyone. Still no Middleton in that lineup, so he is seeing a boost in usage. Sabonis, Trey Young, Porzingis, Harden if he's in. These are all good plays. Anthony Edwards, who's questionable. If he's in, I love him over on FanDuel. So yeah, pretty solid slate here, 6 gamer. We are waiting on a lot of news. Bunch of teams on back-to-back, so we could have some funky injury reports. Please like the video. Also subscribe to the channel. That helps us get more free content like this out to you. Again, you can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS, and there is links in the description below to help you sign up to Occupy Fantasy today and come be a part of our team. So once again, happy Saturday, everyone. We have a great day of sports today. I know I'll be cheering on my Giants. We got the first UFC pay-per-view of the year as well. Very exciting stuff. Looking forward to this NBA slate tonight. Have fun, everyone. Good luck. Let's make some money.